So here we are at a wedding, typical smaller wedding, and this particular wedding was at a private home in Malibu, California. I'm here with Mark Dom, who's the videographer that I frequently work with, who's editing this piece. So we'll be chatting back and forth as you view this tape.
So you just finished talking to the coordinator there, getting some details like we always do, figuring out what's going on. And you're shooting detail shots here with the toilet truck.
Yeah, you know, typically I start off with doing all these details, as many as I can cram in before the actual event starts. Anything that reminds them of this day, basically. But yeah, this is establishing shots of the venue itself, and there you go, there's a small little piece. That's kind of cool. Yeah. Right, macro, baby. Details are everywhere, and I think sometimes we forget to look at the details, not just the ones that you throw on the bed of the jewelry or what have you. It's the smaller little things while the event unfolds that we typically overlook. Very nice. Hi. How are you?
On guest arrival, how much of this stuff do you really need? I mean, how much do you really shoot this?
It typically doesn't enter into the book in terms of quantities. But since film and digital is so cheap, I just shoot till I'm done. I really don't take count of how many rolls I've shot or how many frames I've shot. I just shoot till I feel that I've kind of covered it. Come on. That's it. Keep walking. Thank you.
Is there anything in particular that you're looking for at this time when the day's starting?
There we go. No, I'm trying to find a flow that I can enter. There you go. It's the groom. It's the one formal shot of a couple that I might do. It's the groom alone, the bride alone, them together, that type of thing.
Okay,
so
how's that me?
I'll try and do
There you
that
go.
beforehand.
That's
But
it, right there,
it's
right
just
there, right
this
there.
flow where things starts to come there, and I move in, I see something. It's just as things unfold, I try to stay within that moment.
And like with the groom before, did you actually set him up like that, or do you?
Sometimes, not often, but there's times where the groom is a little camera shy. He tends to be more camera shy than the bride for the most part, and the less interested in the photography, so I do have to coax him along a little. Hey, Pumpkin. Look at how beautiful you are. I like it. It's very nice. Wait, let me see what's in the basket.
Yeah, you know, I notice oftentimes when I'm working with you that you seem to be just kind of walking around just looking for anything that happens to be there.
I think this is a great shot right here. I love this shot.
Yeah.
There you go. It's very simple. Most people would walk by it. And this was a girl who was quite shy, actually, and I tried to warm her up a little.
I remember you were trying to get her shot. Oh, I think actually right here you're actually hunting for her. You're waiting, you're waiting for her to not notice you. And then you get her. Yeah, there it is.
Yep. Now, the arena where the bride gets ready obviously varies, but we clearly had a less than favorable spot to work with here. But not all weddings are created equal, so you know, it's either a room like this or a tent, and you got to work with what you got.
Now, obviously, we're on another bride now, different wedding.
Yeah, another wedding.
Yeah, I can't help it.
No, you can't help, and it's good. You are so beautiful. Bring your head down. Turn your whole body that way a little bit. No. You know, telling the bride she's beautiful is an incredible use of psychology, and making her believe it is another. It's not something that I would say to everybody just for the sake of saying it. It's simply the truth. It's that I think on the day of her wedding, every bride is beautiful, and they absolutely glow from the inside out. And since I believe that to be the truth, I somehow convey this to her, and she starts to believe it too if she doesn't already. And it helps to create an amazing set of images. You are so beautiful. Oh my gosh, you are so beautiful. Okay?
Yeah, there we go.
I put together a bunch of pieces here of you just taking pictures, and kind of what I wanted to show is that you're constantly just shooting. I mean, really, it's. Don't you feel like you're shooting constantly when you're in the beginning?
It feels like it. That's why, you know, after 7-8 hours like this, I'm pretty exhausted, and people sometimes don't understand after an 8-hour day why I would feel so tired. But try and focus for 7 to 8 hours straight and staying in the moment. It is not that easy. It's exhausting. Oh yeah. Let me see those eyes though. Yeah. Yep, jackets please. This is the first view of the bride. And we'll set this up rather quickly. All right.
You know, I always see you looking at perspective, like you're shooting through the glass there. You're always looking at reflections and things.
Yes, I love reflections.
Oh, this is cool too, right here. You're like dusting them off, and then all of a sudden you see something over your shoulder and you take it.
That's right.
So you're always looking around.
Always looking and always shooting. That's it right there in the father. Yeah, there you go. That's nice.
I see you switch back and forth a lot between the wide lens and the long lens.
Yeah, it's instead of having to change the lenses from the camera, which would take time, I'm trying to be as fast as I can so that I don't lose those moments or time. And you know, I often say that these cameras and lenses are different kind of paintbrushes for someone who would like be, you know, creating an oil piece on a canvas. So I look at it the same way.
So right now we're getting ready to set up the first sighting of the bride and groom.
Yeah.
How do you set that up? You have a very specific way of doing that? Or?
Well, you know, obviously it depends on whether they plan on seeing each other beforehand or not. And in this case, they decided to do it in order to get the formals out of the way. But I like getting it from different angles, so I start with this from this particular point, and then maybe I might get over the groom's shoulder looking at the bride, and again, different lenses, because I want to see her in part of the frame, but focus more on the groom with the long lens. Boom, he turns around, I see his expression, I grab the shot, they come together. I have now the groomsmen in the background, I'm catching the maid of honor and on the sides, and the bridesmaids. Nice. Very good. All right. Hey, you guys, look at me for 1 second. There you go. Right there, right there, right. Stunning.
Do you pretty much just use those two lenses? I mean, it seems like most
pretty
of the time
much.
you have those
Yeah,
two
I have
lenses.
one more, which is the 28 to 70. So that one I'm on right now with the flash is a 17 to 35, and I use the flash for fill-in. And I typically shoot the camera in program mode with the flash at minus 2/3 of a stop. And then the long lens has the faster film in it, and it's available light, and it's black and white. And then I have another camera that I typically have a 28 to 70 on for kind of medium telephoto work. Here, this is typical of my formal poses. It's, hey, you guys come on over there and get comfortable, basically. That's it. That's easy.
Yeah, I always see you just tell everybody pile in, get together, and then sometimes you'll move people around enough, you know, you just want to balance the color or the height a little bit.
Yeah.
But pretty much just stand there and be relaxed.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Done.
We're done.
Yeah.
That's how quick it is. So did everyone have their eyes open?
Yeah, that was 3 shots.
And that's a nice
I don't have to really adjust a whole lot. I find that people put themselves in very comfortable positions. They stand next to who they want to stand next to, and rather than trying to make a perfect image happen, it's almost impossible because it doesn't exist. But again, I often say that what does exist is the perfect moment. So while you have these groups getting together, you grab shots in between, and you often find that's a wonderful moment, the stuff in between the actual formal picture. Plus, I think a lot of photographers try to create the perfect picture. What they tend to do is they meter everything. They're worried about lighting, and they bring in external lights, and oftentimes they bracket everything, and in that moment they miss what's going on behind them. Okay, that's better. Notice how fast my assistants move out of the way.
Yeah. I sometimes hear you say duck.
Yeah, I say that a lot.
I just sped that up there so you can see how you get shot.
Got it.
And all the while, just waiting for these people to get together.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so get together over there, and you turn around and take
And I grab
3, 4,
the other
5 shots,
shots.
and
That's
then
it.
bam, you turn right around and get
That's
these
it.
shots.
Exactly.
You know, I don't see you changing anything on your camera ever. I don't see you ever looking at the dials or switching things around. All you're doing is shooting the whole time.
Yeah, I'm pretty much comfortable in the program mode on my cameras. I know what they do. I don't have to worry about f-stops, if you will. It's clearly something that the camera becomes an extension of my hand, my eye, and my heart. So I don't need to look at dials or menus on the back of the camera. I just shoot. I know what it's supposed to do, and it does it. Eyes at me. Turn your face a little bit. Oh, come on, look how beautiful.
Aw, look at that. That's a good one.
Bingo. I'm feeling great. I'm just getting started. You know? I'm working on adrenaline right now. But it's so great. I love doing these weddings. It's my passion.
So now you're done with the formals, and we're doing stuff right before the ceremony starts.
Yeah, this is the moment that I take the long lens out and capture moments of people unbeknownst to them.
And it's amazing to me how focused you are here. You're just like, you're hunting.
Yeah.
Constantly just looking for something you see and then shooting it.
Yes. And often they're split-second moments. People change when they see me or notice me shooting them. You know, we're taught as kids to, when the camera is pointed our direction, to pose and smile. So it takes the moment away. So if they're not aware of me, more than likely I'll get a very genuine shot of who they are in that moment. That was good. That was good. That was good. Didn't pose. It was really nice. Nice smile. That was good. That was quick. Yeah. I'm on it. Oh my God, that's beautiful. You are so beautiful. I need to smile. Where's the smile at? All right. That was good. That was good.
Okay, so now we're back at the other wedding, and this is processional stuff. Is there anything special about the processional that you want to say about what you do?
No, again, it's just the flow of moments. So I tend to do this from two perspectives, looking at him, looking at her coming down the aisle, switching to the other camera with flash on usually at this point, and trying to get her to come down, and there you go.
Seems like all photographers pretty much shoot the processional similar ways. You know, you just get out and step out and get, you know, each individual shot. Now this one didn't have a big processional, but the next one does. So
right.
You see that.
I tend to look over the shoulder of the groom while looking at the bride, and then reverse it, looking over the bride's shoulder, looking at the groom while they're exchanging vows. I like using, let's just say, looking over the groom's shoulder and framing part of him while her face, as she's crying right there, looking up at him, is what I'm really after, but then he's somewhat out of focus. It's wonderful to do that, incorporating both in the image and while focusing on one of them. It's called selective focusing, and I like using that a lot.
So you try to have something out of focus in the foreground.
Yeah. Or the background.
And you move around a lot. Are you not concerned that that you're being intrusive, or do people ever complain that you know they noticed you too much, or running around too much?
No, I've never had that happen. I've always been able to be far enough away that people really aren't paying attention. I try not to run. I may move quickly, but stealth-like, hopefully, and grab a shot, move out.
From this day forward, they shall never walk alone, but together with each other.
Let's take a moment now to talk about the lighting. And it seems like you like available light a lot. Of course, these are outdoor weddings right so far, but tell us about that.
Well, yeah, it tends to be my style. I really like available light, or natural light, if you will. And, you know, the traditional way may be that a photographer would bring their umbrellas, their light stands, and while that is equally as valuable as my style of shooting, it's a different style. And, you know, the available light really lends itself to a quote-unquote more artsy way of looking, while something that's lit really well has a more clean look to it. So, you know, what's great about our industry is the fact that I think for every bride there is a photographer.
This is an outdoor wedding as well. If you're doing a church wedding, you can't obviously move around like that. Oftentimes they won't allow you to be on the altar, so do you just kind of move up and down the sides as much as you can?
Go around the sides and across to the other side of the church, and then back around again. And then again, here is also at churches we tend not to be able to use flash except for the procession and recession. So I'm on usually with this camera, the long lens, and 3200 film, black and white.
So you always have a black and white body and a color body on you?
Oh, absolutely. And an infrared body. I shoot infrared for the portraits, especially of the bride, and then some other moments as well. It's one of my favorite films to use, is the Kodak infrared.
And do you use filters with that?
Yeah, you know, Kodak recommends a 25A red filter, and I tend to shoot with a medium yellow and medium orange filter.
Why? What do you find?
I think it's very forgiving in portrait work. The yellow filter, the eyes actually don't look sunken, or you don't have the shadows underneath that you would if you used the 25A filter. So the yellow filter, I want you guys to try out there to shoot on the Kodak infrared. Rate the film at 250 ASA, put it in program, and check it out. See how that works for you.
You can give her a good push. There you go.
Here's an instance where I would utilize the infrared camera. Typically, I asked a couple what inspired them about the ceremony site, or where they're getting married, and I usually end up utilizing that area for the after shots of the two of them together. The digital, the color, the black and white, and definitely my infrared, and that is my infrared camera.
Love that. I can't see her at all.
Do you ever have brides give you shot lists for this?
Yeah, I get shot lists from time to time. Obviously, the day of, it's hard to do anything about that. But I typically, when I get interviewed, I also find out whether or not that's the type of bride that's requiring a shot list. And if she is, I let her know that that's not necessarily my style of shooting, is working with shot lists. I definitely am aware that people do need their formals, and they need the extended family, and that's all well and good, but when it becomes the extended families and their spouses and their kids, and it becomes a long drawn out shoot where you spend an hour to 2 hours, I think it's not something that I am comfortable doing, because it's just out of my realm. Of course, the day of, that sometimes happens because Mom will hand me the shot list. So, you know, you grin and bear it and you shoot it.
He's good.
Okay, now we're going into the cocktail hour. What are you doing here?
Well, here typically I end up feeling the flow of the moments. I'm surrounded by potential photographs everywhere that I look. And I just spin. I spin around from one area to another. As I'm looking, I'm seeing, I'm shooting. And that's very often reception, cocktail hour, where a lot of stuff is going on. I don't know if you noticed, but when I shoot inside sometimes in an area like that, I might point the flash up because it's a low tent, it's all white, and I use the ceiling as the reflector.
If it's a darker room, you wouldn't do that? You wouldn't?
No, not like this. This is
You only use it if you can bounce it off something.
Yeah, and if it's white, because if it's colored, it'll bounce the color back.
Kind of cool.
Now, do you ever set up lights in the corners, strobes to light the background in the rooms?
No, not really. I like keeping the ambiance that the client has created and shoot everything pretty much in available light. I do bring flash on camera, but that's the extent of it. I don't bring a tripod or monopod. I think I could handhold it enough to do the little details here. I tend to use a flash on camera while dragging the shutter if what I'm trying to get is in a very low light situation. So I still get nice sharp detail, and then there might be blur in the background with people moving, whatever it may be, but it's a wonderful feeling that you get from the image. So it's not, you know, Hasselblad on a tripod, which is beautiful as well, but in a different way. See, it's so simple. I love that. Just a bit of the cake and that, and then the little plate with the 2 forks coming in. It's a sweet detail.
Do you do table shots? I know a lot of photographers really hate doing those. How do you handle that?
Typically, the couple that hires me don't require table shots, and at times, however, maybe the mother of the bride would require them, and in that instance, I will hire a second shooter to cover all the tables so that I'm free to do what I do best. So first dance tends to be flash on camera first, get the full length with the dress, and then I go to the long lens with the faster film, and I get these really tight little moments just between them. Their faces only, nothing else in the room.
Well, this is a pretty well lit tent.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
White everything, white dance floor.
Yeah.
What speed film are you using, or would you use in this situation?
In the camera with the flash on, I use the 400 black and white Kodak TMY, rated at 1000. And then when I switch off to my long lens, it's the fast film, the TMZ Kodak 3200, rated at 1600. Again, you know, seeing something right away out of the corner of my eye, I run, grab the shot, whatever's going on. It's just a couple people standing there, I think, looking and checking out the sunset.
Here you've actually brought the bride and groom out.
Yeah,
to take
I was
the
taking
sunset
advantage of this sunset, I think, and took a moment to shoot with that sunset in the background.
Yeah. Ah, nice. Gotcha. Thank you.
So here I included this footage here because I wanted to show how you're always looking around still at this point in the party. I mean, it's well into the party now and you're just still focusing on what's going on.
Absolutely.
Constantly walking around looking for stuff. Now for dancing, do you ever have an assistant that's shooting stuff also? Do you ever have a big party where you feel like you got to have someone on both sides of the dance floor to get everything?
Absolutely. Yeah, no. When I have 250 people or better at the wedding, I usually get a second shooter to come in and help out because I tend to stay focused on the couple, the immediate family, and the second shooter roves the periphery of the wedding, so nothing gets lost and falls through the cracks. So it's every wedding. I don't think I've been to one where moments haven't unfolded in front of me. It happens at every single wedding. So it's impossible to miss these moments. They're there. I think sometimes, and I can understand why, we get a little complacent because we've been shooting 9, 10, 15 years, and you know, if you've been to one wedding, you've been to all of them. But as long as I have this mindset that that's not true, because every wedding is different, I find new stuff to shoot.